Alright, so we have a couple of goals here. One of them is to take our code, and what I want to do is actually make it our CSS, right? So remember when we started, we did inline, that, which means we wrote it in every line in here in our code. And then last time what we did is that we did internal, embedded, which is up here. Now what I want to do is make it external, okay? Which is kind of the last thing we need to do. So there's a couple ways to go about doing this. I'm going to do it through here, and then I'll show you another way. So, actually, I'll show you the other way first. So let's say you are using Visual Studio Code. Literally just grab it like this. Actually, let's export it, and then I'll show you what to do. So what I want to do in here is that we can actually have it do it for us. So what you want to do is you click and drag over your CSS rules. So not the style part, the part inside. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to Tools, CSS, and then you'll see Move CSS Rules, okay? And then Style Sheet, we want so if I already have a style sheet, it will put it in that style sheet. It'll just write the code in for us, so it'll paste it in it, basically. But I'm going to go ahead and do New, and then I'll hit OK. And then you can see your last name, blah, blah, blah. I want to make a new folder. Man, this is like 90s looking, like, interface. We're just going to call it CSS, and the name, CSS, double click on it, make sure you're in the CSS folder, and the name is just going to be styles, style, and then we'll hit save, and then you're going to see my code's gone. But what it did do is, I can get rid of this now, these styles here, is that now, instead, it replaced it with this link href, type style sheet, relationship is a style sheet, the type is a text CSS, and it's connected, this is the path. And you'll notice that now, instead of just source code, now there's this second one here. And when you click on it, there is our style sheet. And I am just going to go ahead and I'm going to grab the whole thing like this, because I like the way it looks. Hit Shift Tab, so it's backed up. And so now our CSS sheet is just like this, and it basically has all of our code. I'm just going to hit Control S. You saw that there was a little asterisk there. And if we look, you will see that what it did is, is that if you go to CSS, this folder that I made, there it is. So what you want to do if you're doing it in Visual Studio Code is just go in here, right-click, make a new folder, call it CSS. Okay. Then just open up Visual Studio Code. Alright, like so. You're going to want to copy the code, the CSS. Just do a new file. Just Control V. I don't remember if I pasted it or not, or if I copied it. I must not have. So let's just copy it real quick. You take this, Control C, Control V, or from obviously your other Visual Studio sheet. And then you're just going to Control Shift S. You're going to save it in that folder. Call it, where are you? Desktop? Where is it? There it is. In the folder called CSS. And you're just going to call it whatever. Style. You're going to call it styles. And I don't want to replace it. No. But you'll call it style CSS and hit save. And then you'll see it all be highlighted correctly and stuff. Okay? So now we don't need to save and close out of that. Alright. But it did it for us. I mean, it's not like it's accurate. I mean, most of the stuff really what it's doing is it's just kind of auto doing things. Okay, so anywho, let's click back on source, and now we can see what we have here. So now our internal is now external, and that's beneficial for lots of different reasons. I already had mentioned before, but basically, if I want to use the same CSS on multiple pages, usually you have multiple pages, then they can all source that same style sheet, and it'll keep consistency amongst my website, which is probably what you want to do. All right. Now what I want to do is basically add some stuff to this. So first off, let's just go ahead. I'm just going to try and add the CSS that we had from before. So I'm going to go to Style Sheet here, and I want to just add some general adjustments to this, okay? So one of the things that you can do is you can go up here and you can go to File, Page Properties. Sorry, not that. They moved it. Edit. Where are you? Oh, file. Maybe it's not design notes. No, this would be. I swear it was page properties. Why am I not seeing you? Hang on a second. Show. Oh, you know why? Hang on a second. There we go. I was on the style one. That's why it wasn't working. So make sure you're on the actual HTML document. Anyway, so you go to there, you go File, Page Properties. And then what it lets you do is it will set all of the defaults for you. So if you start off with a blank sheet, you can set all these things here. Okay, so I can set up my default like sizes, my default background color, all this stuff, and it will write all the code into your CSS for you. That's something you can do. We will do this later, though. I'm not going to do it right now. What I want to do, though, is basically add some CSS that we were doing. So I want to put a background in here. So to do that, I'm actually going to, that's why I got this up, actually. I'm actually going to do it in here, but I'll show you how to do other things later. So you see Appearance, CSS. So you see it's got text color black, and then background color dim gray, and then background image. I'm going to go ahead and hit Browse. Go to my Images folder, and then here's my background image. I'm going to hit OK. Now what I want it to do is I want it to repeat. I made this one so it repeats. So it's going to repeat in X and Y, meaning across and up and down. And then we will hit Apply, and I will hit OK. And you're going to see, you're not going to be able to see it too well because these all have background colors on them. So why don't we remove that? I'm going to go to my style sheet here. And let me see, body background color, I have dim gray. That one's not a problem, but so this header one, I'm just going to take this header one out, and then we can see it. And then there you go. So now you can see that we have that, and I'm going to take it out of this one too. Things he dislikes. So that is my footer color. I'm going to take it out of the footer too. Okay, that way we can kind of see what we have. Yay, that's pretty cool, right? Okay, let's make sure I save it, Control S. Okay, and it actually wrote it right inside of here, so I could actually take that and just, again, send that back over. Actually, let's go ahead and do that just because. So what you'll notice what it did is it automatically created this little bit of code for us by just hitting that button. So whenever you start a page, you can actually just, before you even write any code, you can go up there, go to File, Page Properties, and just set all these settings, and it will automatically create the internal inline code for you, which is pretty cool. So I was just using it to do this. So anyway, so it's background image, URL, and then I put the image in there, and now it has a background image. So that's good. That's fine and dandy. I want to make sure I'm doing the things that I was going to do. So hang on a second. Alright, so I did the background image. Another thing I want to do is this. Right now, if you look in the class today, we kind of went over background image. We looked over how to change these bullets, so let's just go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to click on the style sheet, and then I have the, where's my, I guess I don't have a UL, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust this UL here. So we're going to do UL. Alright. And then we can start typing in the code that we normally would. So you'll see it'll make it a little bit easier. So I wanted to do list style type. So list style type. And then I can click down and let's do square. And semicolon. Boom. Okay, and then you'll see, oops, square is great. So we changed that. Another thing I want to do is this. I have these three things stacked on top of each other. It'd be much cooler if instead they were 3 columns. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. That will look a little bit nicer. So what I want is to do this. So we already have, if we look at this, each one of these have this section, right? I have a section, this one's called section, and this one's called section. So all three of them have sections. So basically, if I do something to section, it will affect all three of them, and so I can shrink them and then make them fit across. So I'm going to use my section here, and I'm going to add to this bit of code in order to fix it. So first thing I'm going to do is do display, and the type we're going to do is going to be inline block, okay? And then, do I have width on this yet? Border, yeah. And then we're going to do width. So I'm going to make it so that they are not the full span here. So I think we said it was 960 is the total of this, correct? Where are you? 960. I believe I made it 960 earlier. I don't see it here, but I wanted it to be 960. So let's make the width a third of that. So if it's 960, let's just do 300. We'll do 300 px like that. And now you can see that they are stacked. Now watch this. If I click on live, you can see there they are stacked. Now it has this little slider you can pull, and if it's inline block, what will happen is it'll kind of do like what responsive sites do, where they'll actually stack, right? So what we're doing is, if you remember, there are two types of, why is 300? Oh, because it's 900. If I was 900, that'd be fine, which is, actually this is past 900. Anyway, if we were doing, 300 text. Oh, well, I gotta fix another thing here too. But, so it would stack, right? So now we have these three chunks. Another thing I want to do is that if you look, see how they're like kind of stepped up? So I'm going to go back to my code, click on just code here, and we're also going to add the text, vertical align, and we're going to do top. And what that's going to do is it's going to line them vertically to the top instead, and now they'll line up, okay? Before it was lining them up on the bottom, so they were stacked. So the bottom was stacked, not the top. So now they're straight on the top. Okay, but you see now we've got these three columns across. Just want to make sure that for my width, because I don't have anything there. I'm just going to make sure that on body. I thought we had done that, but we must not have. We're just going to do width. And we're just going to go ahead and make it 960 px, just so that it's absolutely that size. Now I'm going to hit live, and let's see. Okay, so it looks like there is not enough space. I think because there's all this padding on the inside. So we made it so that the content, if you look, is 300. But then after the 300, the padding is pushing it out, right? So whatever amount this is, I don't know what we did for padding. And then there's the border. And then there's margin in between. So 300 is obviously not the right amount. So I need to go to my style sheet here. And instead of 300, let's try 250. And it looks like that's still no good. That's still no bueno. 220? 220. We'll go with 220. Okay. So now they're stacked like that across. That looks pretty good. Right, let's do this as well on my, so we have it over here. 1 second, it's raining outside and my windows are open. It's like really coming down. Ever since I moved here from like Buffalo, New York, it feels like it's like living in Seattle or something. It rains all the time like in Baltimore. I'm not a fan. Okay. So another thing I want to do that could be kind of fun is to actually change the background attachment. So after this, I'm going to go ahead and do background attachment, and then we're going to do fixed. And what that's going to do is that now, you see the background stays even when we scroll. So it gives it a sort of dimension. One of the things that you like to do in artwork is do like foreground, midground, and background. If you get a sense of depth, it makes it much more engaging. In a real kind of cheap way, a real kind of cheap way of getting that is by doing it fixed. So, good. Let me see, what else did I want to do? I just want to make sure I'm doing some of this stuff here. So we are, I need to do the nav bar. Okay. So it might make sense that maybe here I put a nav bar instead of what we currently have. Okay, so I want to take this part here actually first and just transfer that back over to my external style sheet. So I'm just going to go ahead and have that selected, go to Tools, CSS, move CSS rules, and then we already have that style sheet, and just hit OK, and that will just shift it over. Okay. By existence, we would like to move this rule anyway. Moving will not overwrite the current rule. Appear as JSON. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Just because I want to keep all my rules in that other one, just makes it easier. All right. So what I want to do now basically is add that nav right here. Okay. So usually that's inside the header. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm make an element inside of there. So I'm gonna make it's an unordered list is how we do it. So we're going to do a UL. Actually, you know what? Since we're making new content, let's go ahead and use our little thing over here. So I'm going to say unordered list. So I'm going to click on unordered list, and then I'll hit enter, and then I need list item, so I'll click enter. All right, and then for some reason that went back up. Okay, so now I have my list item, and then in the list item, I want to make a link. So right here is the hyperlink. Click on that, and you can put in what you want. So I'll just say I'm going to call it item 01, right? So item 01, and then I would put the link here, but I don't have anything to link it to right now, so it's just going to put a hashtag in there. So right now it's going nowhere. That if you click on it, it won't do anything. So basically I made an unordered list, I made a list item, and inside of it is a link, but the link doesn't do anything. I'm just going to go ahead and also tab this in, and I'm going to copy it and just paste it like 4 times. Control-C. Control V, Control V, Control V. Okay, good. So this is what it looks like by default. If you ever opened up a web page and like it doesn't open up right, you might notice the menu looks like this. That's why the CSS hasn't kicked in yet, and what you're seeing is just the HTML. So whenever you see a menu, even my website, if you look at it, that menu is written as an unordered list. So all menus, that's the way they organize it. They're actually unordered lists. All right. What I would like to do, though, is instead make it a vertical or a horizontal nav bar instead of this vertical one. So it goes across. I think that would look nicer. So what we're going to do is just add a little bit of code there to make that work. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm just going to add yeah, we'll just leave it like that for now. So I'm going to go to my style sheet, and then I'm just going to start adding stuff in here to make it work. Okay. So first thing I want to do is this. I want to do UL, and we're going to do list style type, list style type, and this time I'm going to do none. So what that does is it removes the bullet points. See how those the points are gone? Now the problem is it also did it down here. Things he dislikes, that was also removed, which you might not want to have happen. So in order to make sure this one doesn't, but this one does, what I'm going to do is basically look and see what my code has. So if you look down here, see how this says footer, and then this UL is inside this footer div? I'm going to use that. So this is an ID called footer. So I'm going to go over here, and on this one, I'm going to put hashtag footer space, so the UL inside of footer, and that one will still have it, but this one will have it removed. Okay, so that way, that is this UL specifically. So that's how I get a descendant, and it gives me a good way of kind of, making sure we're doing it. Okay, so so we got this UL, so I need a list style type to get rid of that. That's fine. Now I want to do the actual list items themselves, because right now, if you look, they are block level, which basically means that every list item starts on a new line. I want to make them inline. So we're going to go ahead and do LI for my selector. And then that's actually going to mess up my other one too. Well, we'll just do it like this, and I won't worry about the other one. So list item, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say display, and we're going to basically switch it. Now, if you look, you can do block, inline, and you can do that inline block, and there's some other ones here as well, but usually those are the basic ones. We're just going to go ahead and make them inline. Now you're going to see it's going to make them go across because now it's treating them as inline elements, which will keep going to the right until it becomes too small, and then they'll stack, okay? Kind of. So now we have it going horizontally by putting that inline in there instead. That looks fine, and now we can do our link stuff. So now let's go ahead and do our link. So we're going to say a link and also a visited. Okay, these are called pseudo classes because they're not real elements. They're kind of like sub-elements, if you will. They're fake ones. But what it allows me to do is that basically it's selecting these in their default state. So in here, I'm going to go ahead and do font weight, font hyphen weight, and let's just do bold. And then I'm going to do color, and then I can click on color picker and choose my color. And let's go ahead and do like a really deep orange. Does that make sense to me? All right, and then just click off. And then the background color. I'm going to go ahead and make that a nice pale kind of creamish kind of color. Okay, where'd you go? There you go. Okay, there it goes. Okay. Good, and all right. So then we're going to do the width and height. So that these have the exact size. So I'll just do width, and we'll just do 120px. See if that looks okay. That's acceptable. And then let's do text align, and we're just going to center it. So that'll center the text on the inside of it. And then we'll do padding, and I'll just do 5px. So there's a little bit of space between them. Okay, and these don't have it. I must have already taken it off earlier. But just to make sure, I'm just going to do text decoration, and we're just going to do none. We just want to make sure that there's no underline because by default there's usually underline. Now, what you're going to notice is it put it there and it didn't seem to mess up, but see, it did it here too. I might not want these to have that, so in order to kind of target this to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to go back over here, and I'm just going to add to this unordered list. I'm just going to add an ID. I'll just do ID equals, and we'll just call it navbar, so that way I know what it is. So I'm going to use this navbar ID to basically make sure that this is what I'm grabbing specifically. So now right here, I'm going to do hashtag navbar space, and the same thing here, hashtag navbar space, and I'm just going to copy that. Control C, and click in here, Control V space, okay. And let's see, so that got rid of that, but it did, Control V, it didn't like it for the thing. Let's take it out of here, let's take it out of here. Okay, that's good enough. It'll at least fix the link thing. I don't care about the other stuff. All right. So, good. So now we have those. Now another thing we can do with this too is if you look, when I hover over them, they don't do anything special, but we can actually change that. So let's do an A, and we're going to do hover. Okay. And what that's going to do is it's going to change it and we'll do, we'll change the color of the text. And we'll just do color picker, and I'll just do like a really light color, like that. And I don't know why it went so far over. And then let's do background color. We'll change the background color to background color, and we'll make that like dark. So make it like it's kind of like that dark orange before, like that. Okay. Keeps going down there, and then just make sure it's a semicolon, enter, okay. And I don't feel like this is really necessary. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. And now, when I hover over it, it's not really working here. I'm not sure. Sometimes it glitches. So let's try doing this thing I was saying before, back and live. And it's not really showing it. I'll just preview it here, so it should work here. Save, yes. Oh, you know what? I didn't save the style sheet. Although it was previewing the other part. Oh, well. Oh, it's working here. It's not working on these. I must have the code messed up. But you can see when we hover now on the links, it does that, which is pretty cool, right? And it'll do it down here too. So that's what the hover does. Let's go back to the style sheet. Might need to do, let's try this. Nav bar hover. There you go. So it just wasn't specific enough. So I made sure that it was the nav bar specific. So now when I hover over them, right, you can see that now when I hover, it puts these settings on instead. Okay. So good. So if you look, we now have I think the stuff I wanted. So let's just save this again. Control S, and let's preview it again just for fun's sake. And boom. Okay. And you can see that we have a scrolling background, right? And it's I made a wallpaper, so it's just cones because that's fun. And then we went ahead and we made 3 columns, right, by making these inline block. And then I went ahead and made a nav bar underneath. And yeah, okay. So we're gonna call that good. So what I want you to do is just go ahead and save this. Close out of. So I know we didn't really do anything inside of Dreamweaver this week. Just try to get it installed because next week we are going to be doing quite a bit in there. Like everything we did, we could have just did inside of Visual Studio Code. We're going to start utilizing basically. Why is this grayed out? Oh, that's weird. My video card's dying, so something happened there. But because I'm not in that. We're going to start utilizing Bootstrap components, which is going to be a whole other thing. We're going to make a responsive web page. So how this one's fixed width, like it doesn't change scale, or other one will like stack and squish and all this other stuff. Okay. Anyhow, we're going to be using it more next week. So make sure that you have it installed by next week. But if you want to install it and use this just to kind of type in, just to get kind of a feel of it, go ahead and do that. If not, that's fine too. But next week, you're probably going to want to start using it. Not to say that you have to. Again, you can write it all just by hand. But I would say at least if you can't get it to work, like you can't get it, just download the trial for the 7-day trial, just so you can at least do the setup of Bootstrap. All right, that is it. So good luck. Finish this, and then basically just do like you have been. Just zip this up and submit that, and you will be good to go. So good luck, guys.